Good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to see you here at Coffee with QUILL. My name is Deborah Flynn, and I'm the Executive Director of QUILL Learning Network. Today we have Dave Barrett, who's the OYAP Coordinator in the Bruce and Grey area for both the public and separate school board, and Darlene Boisvenu and Brad Marshall, who are ETCs in the Grey Bruce area, and they specialize in apprenticeship. They've been in the field for many, many years, and so they have a lot to share. Our point today is that we have people from across the province, which is really surprising to me. I thought this would be just something that we would have for the QUILL region, but welcome to our members from across the province. It's really nice for you to join us and have you on the call, on the webinar today. I'm going to just, Darlene, Brad, and Dave, are you there on the other, in the office in Owen Sound? Oh, great. Okay, so I'm going to change the screen over to Dave. He will be to Dave, Brad, and Darlene. They will be starting their presentation. Welcome. I'm so glad that you came today to share information about apprenticeship and OYAP. It's always something, it's a goal path that we cover in literacy and basic skills, and it's really good to know. The more we know about it, the better it is for us to serve our clients. So Dave, it should be going over to you now. Okay. There, Dave, I have it up on my screen. Okay.
So, good afternoon, everyone. As Deb said, my name is Darlene, and I've been an apprenticeship consultant for a few years. I'm going to do, we have a presentation here. I may not go over every slide. There's lots of detail here, so we may not go over everything, and then Brad's going to speak, and Dave has some documentation that we might use as well. So if I skip over anything, it's not, you're not going to miss anything. So if we go on to
Darlene, we'll take questions at any time, won't you? I can just interrupt you. Okay, so if anybody types a question into the question bar, I will just share that with you.
Sorry. That right there, sorry. So essentially, what a skilled trade is an occupation that requires a specific skill set. For example, general machinist, hairstylist, plumber, electrician, or auto body. We also have apprenticeships as educational assistants, child development or child services. Child development workers. And skilled trades are people that are involved in almost every aspect of Ontario's economy and are high in demand in our rapidly changing workforce. So we deal with 4 specific sectors. We have the industrial sector, so again, those people like machinists, tool and die makers, industrial electricians, the motive power sector, automotive service technicians, motorcycle technicians, and so on. The service sector trades, hairstylists, cooks, bakers, educational assistants, and so on. And then the construction trades, plumbers, electricians, sheet metal, refrigeration, air, and so on. So essentially what apprenticeship is, it's an on-the-job learning program. So the bulk of the training happens in the workplace. About 90% of it is done on the job, but there is theoretical training that all our apprentices are required to attend as well. They're typically done at community colleges, but we do have union schools and we have private schools as well. So essentially, MTCU's role in apprenticeship, we're responsible for the oversight of apprenticeship training in Ontario. We determine apprentice and sponsor eligibility. We register apprenticeship training agreements. We issue the Ontario Certificate of Apprenticeship. We administer the Certificate of Qualification exams, and also we conduct research, policy development, program evaluations, and we name new trades. Now, within those 4 sectors, there are 2 different types of trades. We have what we call voluntary trades, and we have compulsory trades. Voluntary trades are trades where a person can work legally without either being a registered apprentice or certified. But most employers want people in those trades to become certified even though it's not a legal requirement. The compulsory trade, on the other hand, are trades that to work legally you must either be a registered apprentice or you must be certified to do that work. We have about 22 compulsory trades and about 156 trades in Ontario, so 22 of those are compulsory. So to become an apprentice, the individual must be at least 16 years of age or older. Now, I've left this slide in here so we can have a bit of a discussion. This slide is incorrect. We no longer have an education requirement to enter into apprenticeship, and that may come as a surprise to most of you. There is no education requirement. However, when Brad and I or the other training consultants are on the road and we're talking to employers, we do talk about the education of the apprentices. While they may not need that entrance requirement, they certainly have to go off to community college. They have to do the theoretical in-school component. So we try and make sure that the apprentices, while they may not have that entrance requirement, that they are able and to attend our trade school and be successful while they're there. So when we're having these discussions with the apprentices and the employers, you know, if we feel or if they, you know, advise us that they've had difficulty at school or they don't have great math skills, then certainly that's the point where we would be referring them to our community partners, so the service providers for the various literacy networks. So I just wanted to leave that slide in there, but so you know, it's not, there is no longer any academic entrance requirement into the apprenticeship program.
So when saying that, that came about when the Ontario College of Trades was implemented on April 8, 2013. They've decided to leave that out at this point and to do some consultations around what they feel and probably industry feels should be the requirement. And at this point they're in consultations to see where that will end up being, whether it is a grade 12 across the board or grade 10 or any other requirement.
Brad, if I might interject for a minute, have you been able to talk to employers and what's their feeling about that? Have you gotten any response from the people that you're dealing with?
Certainly the ones that I think both Darlene and I are talking to would like they want to see their people successful. So typically they still would, our sense, they still want to see the grade 12, or even in the construction trades, they really want to see that math to see where they're at, because that's a major requirement of their jobs. Is they can't figure out the math part of it. So carpentry, if they can't figure out the stairs, the angles, the roofs, the trusses, then they won't be able to do their jobs. So
that's right.
And the other part of that is if they're not ready to go to school, and it's not the actual credential is really I guess the important part, and you guys will see this in your profession, it's the skill part. So lots of people can have the credential. I mean, if I were to go back to read a grade 10 or little on a grade 12 math test, I probably wouldn't be successful. So they want to make sure their people are ready to go to school. So yeah, they want to see the skill level more. The credential, yes, but it's more the skill level our employers are really adamant about. They want to make sure they're getting people into the program. They're going to be able to do the jobs, which means they got to do the math versus maybe even the credential. So that's where we connect with you guys a lot of times.
Excellent. Great. Thanks for sharing that.
Okay, so how a person becomes an apprentice. Essentially, they have to find a sponsor who's willing to hire and provide apprenticeship training. And again, that's where our other partnerships with our other service providers come in. We have, and all the different areas have service providers that can assist with either wage subsidies or, help with resumes or whatever. So the apprentice has to find the sponsor. Once they've found the sponsor, then they contact the local apprenticeship office to begin the registration process. Essentially what we do is we send out an application form. the application forms come back, and then we contact the employer and the apprentice to get the registration done. That process is done very differently all over the province. Mostly now it might be done by mail or by computer. Some of us still go out on the road. It really does depend on who the employer is and what kind of assistance they might need. And then once they become a registered apprentice, then they must register with the Ontario College of Trades as well. So the requirements for the sponsors to train an apprentice, the sponsor must have the capacity to provide apprenticeship training according to the program requirements. They must possess the necessary equipment, materials, processes, and facilities to support the training. They must abide by the stipulated ratios for apprentices to journey persons for the trade, if that's required. And they must support the apprentice to attend the in-school training as well. With sponsorship or with an apprenticeship, what they're signing are training agreements. These are not guarantees of employment. So just because somebody's registered as an apprentice does not mean they have a job for the rest of their apprenticeship. Hopefully the employer will keep them on. However, sometimes apprentices get laid off or they get fired, and the employer has the right to do that. By the same token, the apprentice can transfer at any point as well. So if they leave one employer, they can go to another and be re-registered with that employer without any loss of time or credit. So how can a sponsor recruit an apprentice? They can do a number of things. They have to assess their business and training needs. They have to review the apprenticeship training standard on the OCOT website. OCOT is the Ontario College of Trades. They must identify the appropriate journey persons or trainers, and they must review the entrance requirements for apprentices. And again, as I said, the entrance requirement is they must be at least 16 years of age or older. So the apprentice's responsibilities, they are to follow all lawful instruction. They're to become members of the College of Trades. They have to learn the required skills of the trade. They must attend apprenticeship in-school training as required, and the in-school component is mandatory. It's not if they want to go or when they want to go. They will attend when we advise them to do so. They have to track their training and skills required as outlined in a training standard. So we essentially, when we do the registrations, we give them a training standard which outlines all the different skill sets they're supposed to master during the period of their apprenticeship. And when they've mastered this skill, they have to get the journey person to sign off on it. And in order to complete the apprenticeship, they have to have all their skill sets signed off. And then, of course, they have to notify us of any changes to the training agreement, contract, or personal information. The sponsor is responsible for providing quality training and supervision. They have to adhere to the various relevant legislation. They have to maintain communication with the ministry staff. And they must ensure that the apprentice is aware of his or her responsibilities as well. The ministry does not charge a fee to become a registered apprentice. However, there is a $60 annual membership fee to the Ontario College of Trades. So once the apprentice what does the apprentice receive after they've completed their apprenticeship? So when they've done their hours and they've done their schooling and they've completed the skill sets and the training standard, they will come to our office and they will receive a certificate of apprenticeship, and then they will write their final certificate of qualification exam in our office. The pass mark for our exams is 70%, and it's a multiple choice exam that they do in our office.
Darlene, in the past when I've worked in a literacy program and worked with a client who had some, he knew skills, but he didn't have the reading skill to go through the exam, he was able to have someone read to him. Is that still something that goes on, and do you still have that opportunity? Like, can people still take advantage of that?
Yes, we certainly have accommodation processes. Yes, we can allow a reader for an apprentice. We have an application form that the reader has to fill out. Of course, they can't be involved in the trade. but they certainly can provide that service to the apprentice. We do allow apprentices to also have extra time if they need it, and if they need to be alone in a room, I mean, they're certainly being watched, but if they don't want to be in a room with all the other exam candidates, because some of our exam rooms are quite large. I mean, we can accommodate, I think, up to 15 or 20 here, but some of the large centers, you know, might accommodate up to 40 people, and for some people that's a little bit intimidating. So we do allow them to have the room by themselves if need be. So certainly we look at accommodation, whatever we can do to help the apprentice become successful, for sure.
Darlene, I have a question here. I have a couple of questions, but one of them I'm going to hold off till later on the assessment tools. But I have a question. Are there any accommodations for people with learning disabilities that make it difficult or impossible to do the in-class component? We know that often your apprentices are going off to colleges, and they have accommodations for people with learning disabilities. Would your apprentices fall into that? Like if they went to Georgian College in Barrie, or if they were down in Sheridan, would Sheridan have the accommodations to serve that client while they're in the apprenticeship courses?
Yes, they do. Anyone who provides training to our apprentices have to provide that service to our apprentices, so it is available to them. And I know that Brad and I, when we're on the road and we're talking to our apprentices and we're talking about the schooling component, we always remind them that, you know, if they feel they're having difficulty, that they need to access that service immediately. You have to remember that our training is done in a fairly short period of time, so they usually work a year, then they go to school for 8 weeks at a time. 8 weeks is a short period of time, so we do remind them to get that help immediately, not to wait till the 7th week and then all of a sudden decide that, uh-oh, you know, I'm struggling here. So yes, there is accommodation available to them in any school that provides our in-school training.
Great, thank you very much.
So, and just to add to that, typically when we're possibly talking to an apprentice about extra time or accommodations in our offices, it's not a blanket, yes, you can do that for everybody. We talk to the apprentices to make sure that they really do need it. But with the colleges, typically if one of our apprentices has said that they're going to need some accommodations in trade school, typically we suggest they get their IEP from school, individual education plan, and then that way when they can arrange a meeting with the special services with the college, that gives the colleges who deal with that kind of stuff, the special services, it gives them something to go by right off the bat instead of just maybe meeting and maybe say, well, I might need help here, I might need support here in high school. That designates that definitely they need it and it's on paper, and it makes it easier for them to get those accommodations.
Thanks, Brad. Great information.
Okay, so we're talking about interprovincial standards, the Red Seal program. I'm not going to go over this whole slide completely, but essentially what that is for many of our trades, they are what we consider to be a Red Seal, or people call them their ticket. Essentially now all our exams are Red Seal exams. When they write and they pass, their licenses are Red Seal, and so they can work in any province in the country. I shouldn't say all our exams. There are a number of them that are Red Seal. We have a few left that are not, but the bulk of them are. And again, it just allows them for extra mobility to cross the country.
Good.
So for the benefits to apprentices, you know, there's lots of benefits. It gives them entrepreneurial opportunities. So once they're certified, a lot of them start their own businesses, and then hopefully they will take on apprentices just as they were. They end up with certification that allows them to work throughout the country, and very often our certification is recognized internationally as well. You know, they get skills that they can build on. There's a number of financial incentives available to them, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. And they have lots of different job opportunities, and they obviously earn while they learn. So this is a program where they're actually being paid while they're learning their trade. So again, for the employers and the sponsors, there are financial incentives available to them as well. They get to train employees to industry standards. They sustain talent in their business, and there's profitability. Skilled worker is an asset. So for the supports for training. So essentially when an apprentice is registered, once they have worked for a year on the job, and again this is paid employment, this is not volunteer work, so they are being paid. When they go off to trade school, our ministry pays 80% of their tuition when they're going to school. They are required to pay for a portion of their own training, but it's $400 per level, and most trades have 3 levels. So they're going to pay a total of $1,200 in school fees, but they pay that $400 only per level. They don't pay it all at once. Also, when they're going away to school, most of them have been working, so they are laid off from their positions. They receive employment insurance premiums. They also receive, if they have to go away, they may receive a living allowance, as well as perhaps childcare and or a travel claim. When they've completed their first year of on-the-job training, they will receive, after the first year and when they've gone to trade school once, they're going to receive a $1,000 grant from the federal government. They're going to get another $1,000 after the second year of their apprenticeship. And when they've completed and passed their final interprovincial exam, they will get a $2,000 completion bonus. Now,
Darlene?
$2,000 is for Red Seal trades only, and there's a whole list of them. So there are a few trades that they don't get that $1,000 after each level of schooling, but all apprentices in all trades, if they write and pass a final exam, they will receive a $2,000 completion bonus. There's also a Loans for Tools program for them, so they can borrow some money interest-free to purchase tools for their trade. So they have to pay that back, but they have until a year after their apprenticeship is done. And as well for the employers, there's a tax credit available to them. They can get up to $10,000 per year per apprentice for up to 4 years. And when their apprentice completes and the apprentice gets the $2,000, the employer also gets a $1,000 completion bonus. So there's quite a lot of financial incentives available to both parties for sure.
I have a question about that. I've often heard you talk about that. Who tracks all that? Who pays attention to when they're finished, and how is that all done? Like, do they have to apply for those bonuses?
Yes, so after the first year of the on-the-job and the first year of trade school, there is an application form that they fill out, and we go into the schools and we talk to them about that, and they fill out the application form, send it in, and they get a check.
Oh,
it's
nice.
the same with the completion bonus. When they pass, they apply for that grant as well. Now, for the employers, for the completion bonus, our system will generate a letter to the employer, and it'll tell them your apprentice has completed. Please provide us with this business information, and you will get a $1,000 completion bonus. So that's how that's done. Of course, the tax credit, all their accountants are aware of it, and we certainly tell them when we do the registration to advise their financial people to make sure that they apply for that tax credit.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah,
now I'm going to pass it over to Brad.
Hi, Brad.
Okay. So Darlene's went through the apprenticeship program. We also thought maybe we'd make some comments on maybe give a couple scenarios on how we kind of connect and partner with the upgrading literacy programs. So in the past, there's different programs that we've referred clients to in literacy, or different, I guess, scenarios. So it may have been to upgrade to grade 12, to get their actual transcript. It may have been the GED. It may have been a math, English, or another course, or it might have just been to upgrade a skill set, a math skill, in order to be successful in a trade. So I actually, this was a few months ago, a bit of a funny scenario. I was out for chicken wings, and my niece works at the golf course outside of my local town, and she came out and she said that the cook at the golf resort wanted to talk to me. So this, of course, was at night, and it was kind of a chuckle, so back in the kitchen I went, and I got started talking to the woman, and she was, after speaking with her for a few seconds, I could tell that she and once she told me that she was from another country and only entered Canada a little while ago, and said she wanted to become a cook, I could sense that there may, and I say may, she may need some supports as far as apprenticeship and being successful. So I referred her to Deb's office, and they assisted her with ESL to bring her up to speed on the language barrier, and just as importantly, to bring her up to speed on trade-specific language. She actually was a cook in the Dominican Republic and did quite well there, but the language the language we use here in Ontario or in Canada about roux and different kinds of soups and how they cut and do different types of cooking was different than what they were used to, what she was used to and learned in the Dominican Republic. So in the end, she's going to, or I believe she has been registered as an apprentice. Wasn't quite ready to go to school, so probably will be coming to the next level at Georgian to go to school. And so that was a really good way that we utilized our services and partnership to bring us success. I've had other clients in the past, as well as Darlene, with getting their GED when it was a requirement. It will probably be a requirement again. So there's a small window of opportunity here for some people that don't have that credential. But we've also referred for, especially for the skill level, or the skill set, the math skill. So on a number of occasions, we needed to refer them to get the math upgrading so that they're successful in school. I just wanted to stress how important it is, and I know that we all work hard at doing this with the client, but how important it is to make sure we tailor these programs to the client's needs as far as timing. Not just, it should just be as important to tailor them for the math skill if it's for electrical or if it's for carpentry, so to speak, but also the timing and where they live. There's a big difference between urban and rural. So we have people that may not, first of all, have a computer, but also may only be able to get this upgrading and skill sets during the evening, or they may not be able to get to an urban area. So having it available in a rural area and the right timing is very important, and matching the skill set upgrading to what they really need. I think we do a really good job. I think we can always do better. Same as our apprenticeship programs, we can do better. But that's just something we've seen in the past in different areas. I also worked in another, I used to do Dufferin County. I had Orangeville, Shelburne areas, and that was another area where we did well. We just needed to do better to help kind of address clients' needs on their level, not on ours. And we're referring back and forth. I know Deb can speak to this too, that we refer back and forth. She may see people that they're helping with adult learning or literacy, and then they send them to us, or we refer people obviously that need help and we refer them to them. So that's a real nice partnership.
You're right, Brad. That is a good partnership, and I have to say that the network, having all of the community programs like the Georgian College and the community-based programs, it's great to have them in so many different places so that it makes it a little bit easier to the clients to reach and get to that program. And it's good that in literacy we look at the individual's needs rather than the curriculum that we have to support. It's always a great thing, too. I love that about literacy.
Sometimes, Deb, too, that about the whole location part, my experience, and I think Darlene's too, is that it's very hard for them to self-identify. But you guys will run into it probably all the time. And so for them to actually, first of all, self-identify to one of us that they may need some supports, and then to walk into maybe an urban meeting room or a library where there's 100 other people there, that's very scary. So to have it tailored to that they can get somebody in their location, town, small town, rural area, on a one-to-one or a small group, is a whole lot more, sets it up for a whole lot more success, I think.
I think that you're right. We're fortunate to be living in a rural area, but, you know, we do have programs all across the province, and some of those are in urban areas, and they are bigger ones. But, you know, it still comes down to us all delivering and thinking about the learner being in the center of all of the programming, and it's about them. I was saying this morning, we were doing a presentation together this morning, and I said it's like we're a mosaic, and maybe there's a tile missing here or there, and we have to fill those tiles in, those little pieces of information that they need to help them be successful. But I know here in Bruce and Gray, we have great partnerships with our apprenticeship ETCs who are referring to our programs, and between our Family Y and VPI, who are employment service providers. They do a great job of making sure that we deal with service coordination, and we really try and work with the client and make them the center of all the work.
So I'm going to hand it over to Dave now.
Ooh.
Thanks, Brad. So my piece of the presentation is talking about the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program. And since my slide deck only has 2 slides on that, I'm going to reiterate a few of the things and maybe go into a little more detail about apprenticeship and the opportunities. I spend a lot of time talking with students, but I also spend a lot of time talking with parents and educators about the opportunities in apprenticeship, because I find we're not all really well aware of it. I ask students in every presentation, how many of you get asked what you want to be when you grow up, and how many of you are sick of being asked that? And they're all being sick and tired of being asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? So we reframed it to ask them, what is it you want to try next? And we want to make sure that they're trying the skilled trade so that they can at least have their eyes open to the opportunities that might be there for them, because we just want them all to be outrageously happy. So I started off talking about, you know, if they had a choice between Galaxy and Netflix, what would they choose? And I equate that to university and college. That's all they hear about. That's all they know about. So we want to make sure that those other choices like rock concerts, sporting events, that would be college, apprenticeship, university, and direct to work, all the 4 pathways that are available to students. We talk about all the different opportunities that are out there, like apprenticeship, entrepreneurship, going direct to work, so many other places that they will go and how they'll touch on them over their entire careers. Go through some of the definitions of what an apprentice is, what a student is, and what the difference is. And then we start talking about the journey person, holds a license for a skilled trade they have completed an apprenticeship in, which sounds an awful lot like a degree or diploma. It's a title conferred upon students by colleges, university, or professional schools on the completion of a program of study. They're all equal. It's a starting point. It means you have become and gained a skill level of expertise in what you're pursuing. Okay. So then we start talking about naming some apprenticeships. And we ask the question because it doesn't matter if I'm talking to students, parents, or educators, what I constantly hear is carpenter, apprentice, electrician, auto mechanic, and hairstylist. Like there's only 5. As we've discussed many times, there are 156 different skilled trades in Ontario, broken down by the 4 sectors that we've talked about. No one ever says steam fitter. I never hear process operator power, also locally known as a nuclear operator. Heavy equipment operators, all these different opportunities that are out there. Even students that want to get into healthcare, instrumentation, and the people that keep the CAT scans and the diagnostic technician equipment and everything going, all have great careers in the medical profession. They don't have to deal with sick people. So there's lots of opportunities out there. The key difference is between university and college is, as we said before, apprenticeship is on-the-job, hands-on training. It's 2 to 5 years. Sometimes expressed in hours, 1,000 to 9,000 hours, depending on the apprenticeship. Same with 2 to 5 years, depending on the diploma or the degree. It's on the job. You're being trained. You're on the job 90% of the time being paid, and you must be paid while you're learning in Ontario as an apprentice. What do we mean by hands-on training? You learn by doing. So if you decide you're going to become an auto mechanic, your journey person's going to tell you, she'll say, go over and set up the brakes on that Ford Taurus. You'll go do it. She will come over, have a look at it, correct you, show you where you've gone wrong, show you some tricks of the trade. Ford F-150 comes in, Toyota Corolla comes in, and you keep doing brakes until you are considered to be competent. Once you become competent, your journey person signs off, says, I don't need to look at you doing brakes anymore. You know what you're doing. You sign off saying, yep, I know brakes, and you move on to the next thing. And it's constantly learning like that over the course of their apprenticeship. Life as an apprentice starts off, you are starting at the bottom. You're usually doing some laborer's work. If you're working in construction, you might even be washing the boss's car. If you're working in the auto sector, you start off doing the dishes, learning about sanitation, safety. In the industrial trades, you might be doing cutting and welding beads over and over and over again. But over time, as you build your competencies, you're asking questions, you start to build up, and over time, you start to become competent in more areas, which means your areas of responsibility goes up, which usually means your pay will go up a little bit, and you continue to learn until you complete your apprenticeship and build all your competencies. So you move up the hierarchy. You start off learning the basics, safety, keeping a clean work environment, those types of things. And as you move up over your 3 or 4 years, you start to learn the different skills from the different people and carry on. Employers are constantly telling us what they're looking for is that passionate student, and every educator is looking for that one as well. It's when they get that wow moment going, I need to know everything I want to know about this because I love it. So we just interviewed students for a cook program. We met a young man today. This guy, that's all he talks about is cooking. He is absolutely passionate. He drives down the road and sees a field full of wild turkeys on a beautiful fall day, and all he's thinking is, what kind of vegetables can I serve with them? So this is who we're looking for in any profession, and particularly the skilled trades. Our employers are saying we're looking for that passionate. So if they've tried it and they say, yes, welding is what I really want to do, they're going to start asking the questions, and all those other things like the reading, numeracy, they will come to you and go to the supports that are out there to make sure they get what they need in order to get into that career that they're so passionate about. So we talk about the differences between the practical side and the academic side of things. So when I talk to trade students about the Pythagorean theorem, their eyes roll back in their head. When I talk to them, if they're roofers, and I say, well, how do you calculate the run, rise, and span? Oh, well, you do this and this. It's the same thing. The Pythagorean theorem is for the academics. The run, rise, and span is for the application of it. They don't care what it's called. They want to know the practical side of things. So often I'm talking with students that tell me they can't do math, but when you put it into terms that they understand, like a skilled trade or an agriculture situation or when they're cooking, it's amazing what they can do. And then we refer them to organizations like yourselves because you can help them with the other details so that they are very successful in what they're doing. So why do we talk about apprenticeship? We've been through these. There's lots of opportunities out there and money for apprentices, for the employers. There's money out there for those ones. And one of the scenarios that I run through with students and parents that I really enjoy is I ask them, do they know anyone that's going to college or university right now? And then the question becomes, how much is it costing them? So you can see from my slide here, average cost back in 2010, 2011 was $22,500 a year. So we just run a brief scenario. We talk about post-secondary. It takes 5 years to become a plumber in Ontario. That's the same as going 4-year degree plus 1 year of graduate school. So we talk about this. In most of the construction trades, or many of the construction trades, apprentices must be paid a percentage of what their licensed journey person makes. So let's just run this scenario very quickly. Post-secondary scenario, $20,000 a year, won't change for 5 years. That's what it costs to go to university. And we're going to say a licensed journey person plumber makes $60,000 a year. Year one, you're in school, large classes, being lectured at, small classes, labs, so forth, cost $20,000. Apprentice, you start off at the bottom. You're probably mopping floors. You're starting to learn from your journey person. You're probably carrying all the stuff around the construction site. You earn 40% or $24,000. Year two, back in school, same scenarios. Apprentice, a little more responsibility, probably got a little more competence, getting a little more confident in what they're doing. They earn 50% or $30,000. Year three, back in school, same scenarios. Apprentice, more responsibilities, probably has another, a female has just joined as a plumber's apprentice, so now they're probably going to be helping the new person out a little bit. And they earn $60,000 in their third year. 60%, I'm sorry, 60,000. School, again, back in class, apprentices also get holidays, which gets forgotten about. And I know when I was working and going back to college and university, I got to have all the fun because I was the guy with the money while the rest of them were all poor, but I got the full university experience. Must make 60% or $36,000. So woohoo, the graduate, the person going to university is graduated, and them and 850 of their friends are going to start going to look for work. They decided to go one more year. Back in school, another $20,000. The plumbing apprentice probably has purchased a vehicle, done a little bit more traveling, purchased some new tools, and they have to make 80% or $48,000 that year. So if you run the math, to become a plumber in Ontario over 5 years, they're going to earn $180,000, while the university student has paid out $100,000. That's a difference of $280,000. And I've had colleagues of mine that have run this out to say, how long would it be before the university student caught up to them? So the apprentice now makes $60,000. Average wage of a university or college graduate in Ontario is $39,000. And it takes them anywhere from 20 to 30 to 40 years, depending on the scenarios, for them to catch up for that wage difference. And it's the difference of the education becoming that expert in their field. One of my favorite sayings when I'm talking to students, because they all talk about being smart and not smart, and I stole it from a movie and I still love it, is the smartest person, the well-trained person is the smartest person in the room when their subject comes up. So if anything comes up about plumbing, I'm not the expert in the room. I've got friends that are, and they instantly become the smartest person in the room because we're all asking, how do I fix this? So the fear we hear, if I become a journey person, that's all I'll ever be. Hear that all the time, and it's a starting point, no different than any other. I know that lots of people that have English degrees who are now working as technicians or running entrepreneurs and running different stores. It's a starting point. You've completed something. You might like it. There's so many different ways that you can go with this. You know, the 4 rules of plumbing, I got this from a plumber. Water flows down, payday's Thursday, never chew your nails and never sniff your tools. There are people that love that, and they have great careers in it. But there's also people that want to move on to other things, and there's so many opportunities. So I say baloney to that one. The gentleman on your screen started off as an apprentice. He became a licensed journey person. He worked for a while as a journey person, decided he would go back to college or university, and he runs a small shop up here called Bruce Power. It's the largest nuclear facility in the world. But Duncan Hawthorne started off as an apprentice and moved himself through the system. So we're back to this picture. What we find is the students will touch on all of these. If they go direct to work, then they might find they go back to college. If they start off an apprenticeship, it's amazing the number of them that will go on, get some further certifications, further tickets in apprenticeship, go to college or university and move on to other things. The fear we hear this all the time. College is only for those who don't get into university, and the skilled trades are only for those who don't get into college. Baloney. These are high-tech, high-skilled jobs. On the top right of your screen, you're going to see, you may not recognize what it is, but that's a robotic milking system for a dairy farm. They don't let people who don't know what they're doing operate robots that milk animals. This is high-tech, high-skilled stuff that people make a lot of money at. Dairy herds person is a skilled trade. The level of electronics and stuff that they use in industry is incredible, and they're building things and they're manufacturing things, and you need to know what you're doing in them. This is where those essential skills come in, those numeracy skills, those reading skills, so they understand what they're doing. Running a double-headed piece of equipment here that drills and picks up for the construction and mining industry. And the gentleman, this is usually where I get the students, the gentleman in the bottom left is a surface blaster, so he blows stuff up for a living. And he needs to know what he's doing from a geometric, from a mathematical point of view to make sure that the charges he puts in there don't put boulders through roofs a mile away. And if the charge doesn't go off, he's also the one that has to go in and find out why. So they better know what they're doing in all of the skilled trades. And we hear all the time the skilled trades are for men. Again, baloney. There's lots of opportunities for young women. They bring a patience and a dexterity to many of the skilled trades. The key is they need to try it, because we've seen it time and again. When they get an opportunity to try these, they find out that it's a big new world out there and there's so much opportunity for them, and we're hopefully opening their eyes to this fact. And we run various events to do that. I'm just going to scroll through a few slides here, get to some of these. So in the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program, our focus is on co-op experiences, is to get young people to take co-op placements in the skilled trades so that the time that they spend there and the competencies that they build in that co-op will translate into apprenticeable opportunities for them later on. Whether they do it while they're in high school, whether they do it post-high school, or whether they go off to college, university, and pick it up later, we want them out there to experience the opportunities that are in the skilled trades, and we find co-op is the best way for them to do that stuff. So we educate them. Don't be afraid to try something. Hate it. If you find out you hate it, you know you're never going to do it again. and you'll move on to something else until you find that piece where you find that passion, whether it's in the skilled trades or another area, the opportunities will be there for you. So that's the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program in a nutshell. It's an opportunity for go out, discover what their opportunities are, discover what they like and don't like, where their skill levels may be at, and what they can do afterwards. So, and then we talk about so many jobs in the next, a video that I'm not showing you that did appear at one time talks about that 60% of the new jobs in the next 10 years will be in the skilled trades. So there's opportunities that are out there for students. We just need to open their eyes to them, and the money's there. There's money going at them for there. We talk about in the media, skilled trade shortage could be closed by women. If more young women would get into this, the skills gap would shrink significantly. And we talk about the different sectors that are on the rebound. So you've got things like the automotive and motorcycle sector that are expected to grow by 54 and 55% in the next 10 years. I had to think about why that is, and the key reason is baby boomers are retiring. They're buying Harley Davidsons and they're buying classic cars, and they're banging them up. And they need people that are going to fix them, which creates opportunity for our young people to get out in there. But it starts off as a partnership. We get a student who enjoys what they're doing, they find that passion, and the rest of us step in to help them there, get their literacy up, get them to their schools, get them in with their employers, and move them into all the opportunities that are out there. So there's my website and contact information. I hope I didn't go over time. I'm not too bad. And I want to thank everybody for being on this call with us, and wondered if there are any questions.
Thanks, Dave. Are you going to give us the answer to all these? How far can a dog run into the woods?
Which side of a chicken has the most feathers? It's the outside. What word in the English language is always spelled incorrectly? Incorrectly is always spelled incorrectly. If you pass the second place person in a 5-person race, what place would you be in? You would be in second place because you passed the second place person. You have a wooden barrel full of water. What can you put in it to make it lighter? A hole. And how far can a dog run into the woods? Halfway. After that, he's running out of the woods. So there you go.
Thank you for entertaining us on a Friday afternoon. Thankfully, it's not a snowy Friday afternoon. So everyone, thank you, Brad, Dave, and Darlene. Wonderful information. I think it's great for you to expand our minds about apprenticeship, that it's not just those 5 trades, that there's so many more that we can engage conversation with our learners about, that we can, tell them about what they can possibly do in their lives. I'm just going to switch over from change the presenter back to me. And here you hopefully will see my screen. So I wanted to, I have one question that's come up here, and it's, can we get a copy of these slides? Dave, is there a chance of getting a copy of your slides, or do you share those?
Yeah, I share them.
Sure? Okay then. And the other question I had was, are there any tools for assessing the math skills of a person to make sure that they have those skills for a trade? And so what I did was put in here some additional resources. And I know that a number of these resources do have some math assessment pieces to them, essential skills for Ontario tradespeople. It also, and the Ontario Skills Passport, there's some information there. I didn't get on Literacy Link Eastern Ontario, LEO. They have tremendous amount of work around apprenticeship that they've done. We have some apprenticeship goal path information, apprenticeship tasks on the task-based activity portal. Those were created mainly by Literacy Northwest, and thank you, Anne-Marie, for joining us today. And then, of course, just recently, Literacy Link South Central put out LBS and Apprenticeship, supporting clients through curriculum development. We do have this webinar will be, mine won't go down. I'm wondering why. Okay. we've recorded this webinar today. So all of this information will be on our website next week, on the QUILL website. And so you'll have Dave's information and Darlene's and Brad's. It's all recorded there. So if you don't get the slides, you'll have it right there so you can look at it. You can share it with your clients if you like to. I also put up resources from Project Read about working well together, teamwork. It's an important piece here. And getting ready for hairstyling or electrical apprenticeship. They did a curriculum piece a number of years ago, and you can find that on the Project Read website. I put links to everything. And then our planning board has a document called Dollars and Cents, the 4-County Labor Market Planning Board. And some of the other planning boards in the province may have that particular document. And it really lays out what Brad and Darlene were talking about with the incentives. And so even as a practitioner, you're connected to employers all across the province. So you might be able to share that information with them, make sure that they get to know the importance of having an apprentice, of getting kids into co-op and having them involved so that they can go from being a Boilermaker to the head of Bruce Power, because that's just what's out there for them. Dave had said in his presentation today that we give you a lump of clay and you create this wonderful masterpiece. And I think it's so visual when we talk about the work that we do with our literacy practitioner, with our literacy learners, and with the people that we have every day in our offices. So I don't have any other questions. We have gone a little bit over time. So I will say thank you very much for joining us today. Again, Brad, Darlene, and Dave, I have your contact information here. If you need to be in touch with them or just want to touch base and talk to them about some of the stuff that they told us today, here's the information. Again, it will be recorded. It's part of the recording that we will have on our website. Thank you for this wonderful presentation about apprenticeship and OYAP, and for really sparking our minds to think about what a great opportunity is that we have for the learners that we serve in the LBS programs. Everyone, oh, I do have another question here. I'm sorry. There's one. Is it true if you take a CODA program, you don't have to take the class during, okay, here's, is it true that if you take a CODA program, you don't have to take the in-class during the apprenticeship? Could someone answer that?
In most cases, yes, but what we do is when the student provides us with their diploma, we would look at which particular program. But yes, typically CODA programs, that's the co-op diploma and apprenticeship program. Those kids actually apply to colleges. I shouldn't say kids. Those people apply to the colleges. They get into the program. They're registered as apprentices right away. They do the in-school component, and they do a co-op placement, and those hours count towards their apprenticeship. And when they've completed, then they have to go back, obviously find an employer, and continue and finish the on-the-job competencies that are required. So yes, most CODA programs include all our in-school training.
Okay, and I think that's it. There are some comments here about well done, very informative presentation. Thank you very much. So with that, I think I've covered off all the questions. Oh, Anne-Marie has a question. Oh, her comment is well done. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful the rest of the afternoon, and have a great weekend. And we'll be talking to you soon again. Watch for some more upcoming Coffee with Quill webinars.